Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming in attendance today. I'm going to be reading my written statement. I just ask that no questions be taken at this time. I've decided to sell my gallery. G'day, mates. Well, Ulster, probably one of the biggest shows of the year. Some big news to talk about, but I mean, let's chat Sorare. Let's chat normal life. Let's avoid the elephant in the room, shall we?
We need to acknowledge the elephant in the room. Francine.
Yeah, let's keep people on their tenterhooks for a little while longer. Big week in Sorare, yeah.
Yeah. How about those 240 long form competitions, huh?
Oh, mate, long form 240, long form under 23, it's all happening. People are out there. People are struggling week to week.
Hey, cut the shit!
All right, enough of the small talk. What's going on, Simon? Tell me what's happening.
I feel like, our parents are getting divorced in one room and we're being sat down and trying to get through some small talk about how's the weather going. Look, man, it's time. It's been a long road. It's a very emotional day, and I'm not even saying that tongue in cheek. It actually is. The decision to sell the gallery, it's obviously been such a big part of my life, or our lives, for probably 2.5 years now.
Yeah, long time. Yep.
Long time. But as they say, when the greats retire, the timing felt right. Time to focus more on the family. I want to go out while I can on top. Yeah.
So, look, for everyone listening at home, I basically got a bit of a cryptic message from Simon a couple of days ago being,
Roger.
like, look, we'll talk about this on the podcast, but I'm selling up. And of course, questions are rolling around in my head. What's led to this? How could this be?
Is it me?
Is it me? Is it because I've completely led you astray from the very beginning of your career by recommending terrible picks and terrible players and, encouraging you to invest more money? Is it all my fault? Where did it go wrong, Simon?
Look, I think to be honest, it's been a long time coming. I think, honestly, this podcast has probably kept it going for a lot longer than it necessarily would have. I mean, we've spoken about in the past that it's not the first time where I've been like, that's it, I'm over it, I'm selling everything. But at the end of the day, the enjoyment factor has always kept me in. I was never ready to stop playing Sorare. So I will say that, while I am selling my gallery and, the large chunk of ETH that I've invested, I will still put some back into limiteds. And that's just purely to have fun. Like, I have no expectation. I have no care, really, if that goes up financially or it goes down financially. That's just, I'm putting some money into something that I enjoy, a game that I enjoy. I see it no differently to people putting in money to play FIFA or something like that. That's just sort of the way I'm looking at it. I just feel like for me, I've probably overinvested and been overexposed for a little while with what I've put into Sorare. And to be honest, that was ruining my enjoyment of it a little bit, because with every bad week, I was just like, oh my gosh, it just keeps going down, 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 whereas I want to be able to enjoy it.
Okay. I mean, let's be honest here. It's all Ramiz Zaruki's fault, isn't it?
God damn you, Bernice!
Yep, that's basically the camel that broke the back. No, that's not right.
It's the camel. I mean, it's the camel that broke my back. Yeah.
Yep, that's
straw.
The straw that broke the camel's back. Thanks, Ulster.
Look, it's interesting. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it, because, as we all know, I threatened to quit Sorare probably twice a week, 3 times a week. So, but it sounds like you're actually going ahead with it, and I think your reasoning, it is something that I too have been kind of battling with, and we both had read that article from M Pen, which was a great article we saw on Twitter. Everyone should go and read it if they can find it. Just about, I guess, the dopamine kind of hits, and also the kind of emotional anguish that Sorare can cause, when things aren't going well. And reading that really did make me think about my own enjoyment and experience with Sorare, and kind of, obviously there's, when things are going well, it's great. But I think there are those moments when things aren't going so well that it can be particularly tough, and you find yourself just kind of banging your head against a wall, just waiting on a Sunday. You've had a good score on the Saturday morning, and then you're all set to go, and then Sunday afternoon all your MLS players come and shit the bed, and it's just, you kind of sink into a bit of a depression on a Sunday afternoon. So,
and I mean the fact that I had like 4 goalkeepers benched or dropped, my star midfielder benched, guys getting injured, like that probably also didn't help.
The unluckiest man in Sorare. I mean, you have to surely take the mantle. I mean, we can go through a bit of a hall of shame a bit later on, but my God, you've had some bad luck.
Yeah, and it makes it tough, I think, when you're trying to build towards something and then constantly just being set back, and just knowing how much that's going to cost me. And I feel like looking at the game weeks I was rolling out with the state of my gallery, it was going to have to take a massive overhaul to try and somewhat get it back to being competitive. I mean, I lost some of my best pieces. I lost all my goalkeepers. Is Marshalson ever coming back? I don't know. He's been coming back from Achilles for like 2 years.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be an emotional decision though, so that was the key. Like, I didn't want it to be, I had a heartbreaking loss. Like, say, for example, after the Johnny Russell removed decisive. That's probably the darkest day I've ever had in Sorare. But had I made the decision, then you could probably say it was emotional.
Yeah.
I wanted to let the emotions cool. And at the moment, I mean, nothing's been going right, but it's just been fine. Like, it's just been plugging along.
You're dead inside.
I'm dead inside. I'm numb. So I wanted it to be on the back of that. And that's why I think now is probably the right time.
Okay. So what do you think, what do you think were kind of the key mistakes that you've made since starting? Like,
I've made a huge mistake.
Looking back on, from when you first started, you put a little bit of money in, you bought some kind of, bits and pieces players to try and hit the threshold. Obviously, then you invested a little bit more heavily. Where do you think it kind of went wrong for you?
I think it's the investing with the idea that things are never going to go down or players were never going to lose value. I think sort of naive to the fact of it's an NFT of a picture of a soccer player. But in my mind, because the Sorare community was so strong and everything was absolutely charging, I was like, yeah, but it's a Sebastian Blanco rare. It could not go for less than an ETH because it's Sebastian Blanco rare. But then when you strip it back and look at it, and also just all the other factors that go into a player's form and how that correlates with their price, just how quickly you can have a guy that can be an ETH. And at the time, like I would say like a Joey Veerman at the moment, absolutely justifies his high price tag. But if for some reason Joey Veerman sucks or he gets injured or he has a transfer, just the instability of how that price can plummet within a week. And I mean, we've seen that with the Saudi, and I haven't even been affected by the Saudi league. I can only imagine how, your Benzemas, your Neymar, all those owners, how they'd be feeling knowing that these top tier cards are now worth nothing.
Whoa, this is worthless.
Yeah, I think it was Evil Duke on Twitter, the Jupiler League expert guy. He posted something just basically saying like, I've had a bit of a think about my gallery, and I think we all need to remember that this game is so heavily based on luck. Like, there is some skill involved, and you can buy your way to just the best players and give yourself a better chance of winning. But at the end of the day, a transfer, an injury, a couple of bad games, a few big chances missed, and values can go down. So investing too much money in something where it's out of your control, is probably the biggest issue. And like you said, kind of in that bull market mindset of like, it's never going to go down. This is just going to keep growing. More users are going to come. My cards are going to go up and up. It's classic bull market thinking, and it's the downfall of a lot of people. It's hard to avoid.
Yeah, and I also think as well, if you look back at mistakes made, I guess it's probably not specializing in a region or a certain competition. I think ever since I've come onto the platform, I've always just played All-Star Rare. I've always had guys from random competitions. If I had my time again, I'd probably become a bit of an expert in a particular league.
Fucking cock expert, you cockspert.
Mm-hmm.
and just have guys and know that league inside and out, because I think that's probably been my downfall, is buying these guys where I'm buying them off their SO5 results. I don't actually know their situation properly or how that league operates. So I think if I do that again, you might not win as regularly, but I do think that I would have had more chance to actually win certain divisions, or when things did go well, I'd actually have that top tier reward.
Yeah, that, the weeks where you hit 400 plus, that's great. But when you're up against teams that have, Kimmich and Mbappe and, players from Wuhan, three towns, your best score is, almost always never going to be enough. So, yeah, no, I think that's definitely a good point. I think I realized as well, since you kind of told me you were selling up, I've been thinking about my own experience. And as I mentioned last week, like financially, the move to super rares has been quite good, actually. Like I've hit the threshold quite a few times. I pick up the odd tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 super rare, and that's great. But it has certainly dampened my enjoyment a little bit. I think because the pressure is on so much on, one or two teams, as opposed to being, I think I've realized that I get the most enjoyment out of setting lineups. And if I've only got 2 or 3 to set per week, that's taking out one of the most enjoyable parts and just leaving it to the least enjoyable part, which is, watching my team kind of fall to bits over the course of a couple of days. And the other thing that it kind of triggered for me is, like, obviously we both started out talking about the MLS. We both love the MLS, but I think we've both realized that having your kind of enjoyment rest on the shoulders of MLS players is just, it's painful. And I think I'm kind of the opposite to Channy. Channy kind of quite famously made this bold statement that he wasn't going to play over the summer because A, he wanted to focus on just investing in European players, and B, he didn't like losing sleep knowing that his MLS players are playing overnight. I'm actually the other way around. I quite like waking up, even if it's just waking up at 3 a.m, rolling over, checking, going, oh, Nicholas Storm got no decisive. How surprising. But waking up in the morning, checking the scores and kind of, if it's good, it's great, it's exciting. If it's not good, then you can kind of just get on with your day. Whereas what I'm finding is I'm waking up, I've got a good start from my European guys, and then just throughout the course of the day, I'm just kind of waiting for notifications for my American boys and my Asian boys to come in. And that's ruining my day because the notifications either don't come in or the notifications I get are, own goal, lost their clean sheet, oh, he's been sent off. Fuck! And yeah, that's affecting me as well. So I think I might have to try and rejig my gallery to be purely overnight. So it's just to set my lineups, wake up in the morning, hope it's good, move on.
Yeah, and it also comes back with how hard it is to win at the moment. We both know what's required to win, and it's such an unattainable almost goal on a weekly basis. So watching those guys, and you're like, it's not even a fact of, oh, I need him to score a goal. It's like he needs to start racking up AA now, because if he scores a goal, it's still not going to be enough. Or in Johnny Russell's case, he can score a goal. Woohoo, how good. Then get red carded.
Got bloody robbed, by the way. I don't know. I mean, I know he had studs up, but he got the ball. I mean, very harsh call on Johnny.
Yeah, but I just think, that's also the other thing as well, is how hard it is to win. I know everyone sort of says that, and I sort of don't want to use that as a reason because I think it's a bit of a cop-out.
Yeah.
But it is something that is, a real issue with at the moment in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think, and we've talked about this, and you're right. Like, you don't want to be kind of whinging about it, but it's like even a good score isn't really enough anymore. You might just scrape in for a tier 5, but if one player just scores a 45, it's like, all right, well, we'll see you next weekend, which is a crazy thing to do, really. If you're like a gambling man and you're like, right, I'm gambling, I'm betting that all 5 of these players will do something in this game. It's it's tricky. So I think the more you can just enjoy it and hope that something good happens, then that's probably the secret to it. And I think that for me, that's just waking up. I like the fact that I can wake up and there's like 38 games that I have to go and check the scores of. I actually do it. I turn my notifications off for the overnight games now, and I go, so pre-Sorare data app, pre-Sorare app, used to have to wake up. I'd go to Google, I'd type in, Jupiler Pro League, and I'd click on each game, and then I'd click on like the timeline, and I'd hope to see my player in there as either a goal scorer or an assister, and it's like I would go through, check that first. Okay, they're not there. Let's hope they got some AA. Then I'd go to Sorare and see what their score was. So I actually still do it that way with the overnight stuff. I just kind of do it manually because that's exciting for me. So I think I'm going to go back to that and try and get rid of this, notifications during the day because it's ruining my weekends.
And also, that's the other thing, Alistair, as well, is I love going through and seeing the scores from every game, even games that don't have my players in them. I like all these teams that I know. Like I'm like, oh, how did Anderlecht go this weekend? Like just seeing all the players and players that the community talk about on a regular basis. Generally, that is something I do every midweek, every weekend without fail. At the gym, it's perfect. In between sets, I'm just scrolling through, scrolling. It's fantastic. Yep. And this is what I also want to like. I don't want to come across as a negative Nelly of, oh, I'm selling the gallery, I'm cracking the nanas. Like I still love Sorare. Like I still love the product. That's the reason why I'm happy to put money in, just not on such a high significant amount into the platform, because for that exact reason, it's brought me so much joy over the past year. Like it's fun. It is genuinely fun, and that's why we love it. But I just want to take away from the feeling like we are gambling or that I've got high stakes on the line.
Yeah.
Because that's ruining the enjoyment. So I just want to say that I'm not having a go at Nicholas or the platform. Had they brought the A-League on, I probably would have invested all my life savings. But hey, sliding doors, Nicholas.
That's the user right here, Nicholas.
You get nothing. You lose.
It was pretty funny after last week's app when I think someone was like, does the fact that Melbourne City drawing with like a J2 team mean that bringing them on is actually not worth it? We were just like, shush.
Shut your mouth.
Stop it.
Yeah, the last thing we need is for people to actually witness the quality level of the A-League. That's the worst thing that they can do.
Oh, yeah. Keep it behind closed doors at all costs.
Yeah. If Nicholas is planning to do some scouting over here, we just, do whatever we can in our power to make sure he never actually sees an A-League game. Anyway, okay. Well, look, I think your decision has definitely made me reevaluate what I enjoy about Sorare, and I think I am going to make some changes in my gallery to try and, get back to that enjoyment side of things. I think, having notifications off. I mean, ideally, I think if I can just transition into a purely European gallery and I just wake up in the morning and, hope for the best, that's probably going to be the best thing for my mental health.
Did you know that over 100 Australians are suffering from mental health?
But so what's the plan? So are you going to sell your gallery in bulk to a gallery buyer? Are you going to try and do it one by one? Obviously, you've got quite a few cards in there that are probably you would be selling at the absolute worst time. Your Nabil Bentalebs. Marcuson is apparently linked with a move back to Club America in the Liga MX, where he would probably smash. So are you planning on just bulk getting out in one go, or are you planning to just sell off your best cards, keep some of those kind of potential growers? What's the plan?
I think it's got to be a bulk sell, man. I think otherwise it'll never end. You're hanging on to these guys for ages. I mean, in saying that, I guess you could maybe 2 or 3 players, but I also think like at some point you just have to cut your losses and call it where it's at. Yeah,
I mean, people kind of give the gallery buyers shit, but at the end of the day, like we all know how hard it is to sell cards. I'm trying to sell a Jonas Wind at the moment because my rare that I bought, I bought him for 1 week, Simon. I bought him for 1 game week, and I was like, I'll just sell him. He's been scoring goals. This will be a piece of cake. Can't sell him. Cannot sell him. So if you can get someone to be like, look, I'll give you 80% or 75%, and you just get rid of all your dross, it's probably not a bad move.
This is actually something I hadn't even thought about, but that raises a really good point, is how hard it is to sell players now. And I feel like that's also become quite a bugbear of mine, is the fact that I can't sell anyone. Whereas I feel like early days you could, with a bit of negotiating, you were getting offers. Whereas I feel like at the moment, even some of my top guys, you just can't sell them. And then it's so frustrating to know that even when you do want to try and get out on a player or capitalize on profit if they're doing well, you're not even getting offers for them. That does make it very frustrating.
Yeah, I think it's it raises a few very good points. I mean, the supply at the moment, unfortunately, is outstripping the demand. There's too many cards, and people just want the new season cards, or they want cards specific to their collection. I think there's a certain list of players certainly helped a little bit, but yeah, on the rare level, it's in this kind of flux position where, it's very hard to actually make your gallery liquid. It's a bit of a tough. I guess my all along my long-term vision of Sorare is that eventually it will be more of a mainstream thing, and that demand supply graph will balance out a little bit more. It's just hard at the moment because every time there's a new season we get thousands and thousands of new cards, and we're not getting thousands of new users to match it. So until that can happen, it's gonna be tricky. So I'm in it for the long haul. I'm not worried about it right now.
I'm not worried about it! I'm not worried about any of this!
But yeah, bad timing for you, definitely.
So you were sort of saying before, with your super rares, financially it's been the right move, but enjoyment-wise, it hasn't probably paid off as much. What for you? What does enjoyment look like? Because I think it's an interesting one, because I don't think it necessarily is just winning all the time.
No, it's not. I think, like I said earlier, I think my enjoyment comes from building lineups. Every time a deadline ends and a new game week begins, I'm in there setting lineups, even though I know that I'm going to have to change them all again in a couple of weeks. Because I love going through, seeing who's got what fixture, building these teams, trying to put them all together. And I think when I was probably at my most successful in terms of winning rewards, again, not necessarily financially, but winning rewards, I had, 8, 9, 10 pretty strong teams each week. Obviously, the issue then becomes putting the right players in the right teams, and currently I have less of that kind of decision anxiety, I suppose. But yeah, I love making lineups. So I think that's kind of, for me, that's where I get the most enjoyment. And like I said, as you mentioned, keeping up with all these other leagues and seeing how players are going and scouting players and, watching them kind of improve and get better and being right on scouting a player or being wrong on scouting a player, that's all really fun to me. I think the worst part of it is just waiting for notifications to come through. So if I can banish notifications from my life, maybe I'll feel a lot better.
I think it's actually, I need to mute you, because often you get in before I do. So for example, on the weekend when Johnny Russell had that red card, I just got a message come up from you. I actually hadn't seen the notification come through, and it says, "Oh Johnny, oh Johnny," and I was like, either this is a "Oh Johnny, how good," or it was
Johnny.
"Oh Johnny," and I was like, he's already scored a goal. I don't understand what could possibly go wrong here. Well, hold my beer. So,
oh Johnny. Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, that's definitely probably my fault, and I am probably a little guilty of, making you overinvest, emotionally, because I'm constantly messaging you about Sorare. So maybe I need to chill out a little bit.
my favorite thing. This is just a little insight into the life of the Sorare and Under boys. So often, I will message Alistair about something personal. Oh, did you see Dad's doing well? Oh, that's nice. Oh, this happened last week. This is lovely. Alistair won't respond to that. He'll leave that on red. But as soon as I'm like, "Oh, Milos Kirke's got a decisive on the weekend," he's like, "Oh, yeah, nice," typing away. And I'm like, come on,
Make sure
mate.
you get your teams in. I'm worried about Dad. Yeah, make sure you get that 240 team in. I think you've got a good chance this weekend.
So accurate.
Also my fault. Will put my hands up. I think it's pretty much every week from man, you're winning it this weekend. Look at these fixtures. Look at this lineup you're going to put out. You are one. If you don't win All-Star Rare this weekend, you should quit.
I mean, your constant optimism. I mean, it's you got to pay some respect to it. But how many times do you reckon you've gone, "Mate, I'm telling you, when this new season rolls around, with the cards you've got in your gallery, you are set. You're on." I mean, look at them, man. You've got some absolute smashes in there.
I'll stand by it. I think you got a great gallery. It's just unluckiest man in Sorare, for sure.
Yeah.
So okay, so you mentioned you are gonna stick around. You're not leaving entirely. It'd be a pretty boring podcast if it was just me talking about Sorare and you know. What do you where to from here? What's your plan? Are you finally going to buy that Liverpool stack?
I actually don't know if I'll buy a Liverpool stack, but I'm buying Premier League players and some different Premier League stacks.
Okay.
Because this is what it comes down to as well. Like, I'm probably not getting as much enjoyment of the fact that I haven't been watching a lot of my guys because they've just been at ridiculous times, and I know there's illegal streams and stuff like that, but the viewing experience is not great at 1 a.m. in the morning. So the fact that like the Premier League, even like the J League, to be honest, I could go J League if I wanted to because that's on at a good time for us in Australia.
Yep.
Those are the leagues I want to get into, and I want to buy players that excite me. Like we're talking about how do you know if you're successful on Sorare? I don't think it's because of winning. I think it's like finding all these players that you love, following them on their careers. And I feel like with the limiteds, I've got more freedom to do that because at the moment with the rares, I feel like my hands are tied behind my back and I can't make a jump or buy the guys that I want to because of the financial investment that's involved with that. So I think with the limiteds, pick up some guys in the Prem that I like. And if I want to win some rewards, maybe buy some smashes in the J League that I can watch.
Yeah. So are you going to try and create a couple of teams, or are you just looking to be like, right, I'm just going to buy a Champ Europe team and then maybe some scraps for 240, or are you going to go, right, I'm going to create a champion team, an Asia team? Like, do you have a budget in mind? What are your kind of initial plans in terms of how involved you're going to be?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to go a Champ Europe team. Now, Champion Europe for me has always just been, it's been off in the distance, and I could never dream of being in Champion Europe. Mbappe, Neymar, Messi, Benzema. I mean, you just didn't stand a chance, right? Honestly, I think Champion Europe is one of the most appealing league to go in at the moment because all those guys have left. Like, obviously, there's still going to be your smashes, but I think the fact that if you can hit in Champion Europe, we talk about like getting best bang for your buck in your rewards. If you get a Champ Europe guy, you're getting quality and also you're getting a price tag that goes with that. So for me, I think that's something I'm going to target. Like I said, I'm trying to move away from All-Star, and then I'll run a 240 lineup as well. I think because on the weeks where you don't win big and you're just winning some plotter, this is the guys that you can plug into 240. Rather than sell them, those are the guys that can just chuck them in, see how they go. Obviously, the only thing I've got to invest there is a goalkeeper. But, as we go through, there's a few budget options out there. And then I definitely want more than two teams, I think, like especially in the limiteds. So I think I could either go like a J League team and go for something that's probably a bit more like SO5 relevant, in terms of guys that are just good scorers, or I just get or I can make like a mixed team of Prem. So a few different guys that I like, not going down the stack side, and see how that fares.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I think overall it's never been a better time to buy limiteds, and I think you will, because I've started. So just a quick segue. Just going to share my screen here for a second. So I'm in the process of making these all look the same, but I've done similar to last year. I created my little Tottenham stack. So I've picked up the goalkeeper, picked up a Maddison, picked up a Basuma, and it has been really fun. Like, obviously, because I'm focusing on the super rares, I'm trying to hit that threshold every week. Going out and buying players like James Maddison, Vicario, Basuma, it's kind of just like, it feels just easy for me, and it's fun because it's like, I can pick up my favorite boys from the Spurs, So I think you will have a lot of fun just buying these players, because they will be so affordable. But going back to in terms of which teams to pick, I think Asia and America are probably great. It's the best time really to buy into those leagues because their season's coming to an end. You've still got a fair amount of utility from them. Prices are never going to be lower. And if you're just playing limiteds for enjoyment, get yourself some, Sam Frecce stack. Get yourself some MLS boys, because MLS is not fun if you're riding on it to make your money every weekend. But if you're just having fun, why not?
Yeah, and the other thing is that their leagues are, even the J League's commentated in English.
Yep.
So, like, again, for me, I don't know if this sounds weird, but like that does make a big difference. Like,
That's racist.
I like to have the
Yeah.
commentary. I like to have, quality coverage. Because if I'm going to stay up late and watch a soccer game, I've tried to watch the Peruvian League on Bet360 on my phone. Let me tell you, mate, it is not the same experience.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And I mean, Australian listeners will we have Optus Sport here for the Premier League. So every morning after a Premier League round of fixtures, you can choose to watch the full replay. You can turn spoilers off. You can watch, what they call a mega mini, which is like super extended highlights, or you can watch extended highlights or just highlights, So it's so much more consumable for us here. So if you've got those players playing in the Premier League, there's no reason why you can't wake up on a Sunday morning, chuck the replay on, not know the score, and watch your boys run around. Whereas, if you're watching your Genk stack, there's no replay button for the Genk game on Bet365. You got to be up at 2 a.m. watching it in Belgium.
And as well, like, I don't have the time. And this also comes back to my gallery as well. Like, to be honest, I probably don't have the time, or I haven't put the effort in just due to time restraints to justify such a big gallery. And so for me, like, I don't have the time to watch heaps and heaps of soccer games. So if I can watch a couple of 45 minutes and I still get to watch my boys, then that for me, that's a winner. So yeah, no, really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. I think, to be honest, I've always said I have felt a great deal of responsibility for your ups and downs, because I dragged you into this. And, you made your own decisions, don't get me wrong. But
I'm a big boy.
when I watch things just go, one thing after another go wrong for you, it does kind of affect me emotionally as well, because I'm like, oh, man, I'm so sorry. But if I can know that you're just having fun and we can still talk Sorare and we can still cheer on your boys, but there's not that, cloud hanging over you week to week, I think, it's only going to be a good thing. So I'm proud of you.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I generally think I'm going to enjoy it more. I honestly think this is like big turning point, because I think I'm going to get more invested and more behind my team if I feel like I'm excited and the pressure's off. I feel like there's going to be a weight lifted off my shoulders. The past 12 months, I've been carrying the boats. I've been carrying the logs.
I'm gonna carry the boats and the logs.
And I'm ready to hand them off to a bot and go have some fun.
Oh, man. All right. Well, look, I think it wouldn't be a farewell show without a bit of a trip down memory lane, and look back at some of the trials and tribulations of your gallery from, its humble beginnings. Let's have a look. What was that first team you had? All right. I'm gonna find your first thing. But in the meantime, you can keep everyone occupied here. So give us a rundown of your goats. Who are the goats in your gallery? Who are the players that you've had in your gallery over the years that have meant the most to you, that have kind of given you the most enjoyment?
Well, I think the first one's got to be Papa. I mean, I have his jersey. Sebastian Blanco. This is a player that he hasn't really been Sorare relevant for the past year and a half, really. And I think it speaks wonders that, every time he rocks up to a game in his little pajamas and I send it through to Alistair, look at him. Look at Papa. He's so happy. He was the first player on Sorare that really, I guess, sort of, we both created quite a cult figure around. And he was the first player that was like decisive, dangerous, was exciting to watch for the Portland Timbers in the MLS. So I think for him, even though SO5 wise, he hasn't been around for a fair while, he'll, to me, always be a GOAT. He's a household name in a house of 5 boys in Australia, Melbourne. I think that speaks wonders. And of course, Alistair, I mean, it's got to be Sho Sasaki, right? I mean, my God, has that man captured our hearts? What a man. He's just, super consistent. Japanese fans love him, but we love him too. So, yeah, shout out to Sho Sasaki. I'll always miss you.
Let's have a look. Okay, Sho Sasaki has won you.
He's got to be one of my best cards, right?
He's up there. He's won you almost an ETH worth of rewards. What's that, mate? What are these different things? Total value then. Oh, we don't want to look at that. He's won you a shitload of rewards, basically. He's won you 19 cards, which is pretty wild. Oh no, this is the whole history. Where did you start?
Basically, where all the no cards shown or one.
Okay.
That's where that starts.
No cards won. Yeah, here we go. Okay, you took over him in game week 280. He won you your first ever tier 2, which was, I mean, we'll talk about your disappointing rewards in a bit, but he won you a Luca Nets, Yugo Tatsutsa, I don't even remember who that was. Who else did he win you? Milton Casco. He won you of course, we can't forget the week he won you Kojikaru, your best ever finish. That was pretty incredible, 29.
That was generally, that's probably, I don't know if I said it before, but that is definitely the best moment I've ever had on Sorare. Actually, that's right. I said my worst moment was when the Johnny Russell decisive got taken off.
Yeah.
That moment. And so little story time for everyone. So
Let me let you in on a little secret. Gather round. Not you, non-bred.
I was working at a sports center, like just a little part-time job, and I was a party leader, and I was vacuuming up all the party food that the kids had thrown everywhere. Normally it would be shit, and I'm just watching Sho Sasaki, and we're messaging, and it was a roller coaster because he conceded, and we're like, it's over.
Yep.
Like, it's done. But then all of a sudden, he just started scoring and racking up AA. And then I raced over and caught up with my housemates at a pub, and we were huddled around this phone, just watching Sho Sasaki's score go up and up and up, and further up the All-Star ladder we climbed. And, like, we were just on the top of the world. Like, it was the most exciting thing. Like, what did he pump out? Was it 90 points?
Yeah, 89.5 points in a 2-1 loss. What a legend.
It was incredible. I mean, I still captained Seba Druisa, who was my lowest scoring player in the game week, but
yeah. Of course. Have you got your Sho Sasaki jersey there?
Do you want me to get it out in honor of the great man?
Let's get it out for the boy.
You mean the jersey that I can't wear?
Yeah, the jersey that's purely ornamental. There he is. Sasaki, the boy. I feel like we need to get that framed. I feel like we need to, like, obviously you can't wear it because it's a large Japanese male's shirt, but we've got to do something with it. We've got to get it up on the wall somehow.
Yeah, I think so. It kind of makes it even better that I can't wear it.
Okay, Sho Sasaki, obviously an absolute GOAT. I mean, I'm assuming you'll be picking up his limited, regardless.
There's a reason why I wanted to get that J-League stack, mate. I can't say goodbye. I can't say goodbye just yet.
Okay. So, yeah, Sho Sasaki, Sebastian Blanco, obviously. Anyone else that particularly has kind of stuck out in your mind?
I mean, look, we don't want to throw around the GOAT term willy-nilly. It's a very prestigious title.
I
will say maybe, does it have to go to Burak Yilmaz as well?
I think so. I think that was your first. That was I think Burak helped you fall in love with Sorare because he was the first player that ever did anything in your gallery. Like,
yeah,
no one scored any goals in that first couple of teams that you have. Like, I found your earliest result. I think you actually started. Let's get it up here. You started in around game week, which this is wild. Like about game week 150, I think it was. No, you're around here somewhere. Almost 154. Here we go. This is your first ever lineup. Tani, Miyara, Watanabe, Anita, Vernon Anita, Nakagawa. So we're not dealing with a hell of a lot of, talent across the board there. Love to see that Kota Watanabe is still in your gallery. I think that's, maybe you might need to hold on to him. You made a few moves pretty quickly after that. You picked up there he is. Big Burak. Here we go. First goal in your gallery, Burak Yilmaz.
Pretty incredible. I just want to say, Alistair, before we move on, was it not a sign of the times that first game week, I was on for hitting the threshold? Do we remember?
Yeah, I remember.
And I mean, if anything sums up my time on Sorare, old Vernon Anita out of nowhere gets a conceded penalty, and I miss out by a couple of points.
I remember that so clearly. I remember because I remember like going to bed and obviously I just signed you up. I was already hooked on this thing, and you just signed up, and I was like, here you go. Simon's going to have his first threshold win. Like, this is a big deal. All Vernon Anita's got to do is get on the pitch. And he got on the pitch and then proceeded to completely derail everything and made you miss out on the threshold. So Vernon definitely goes in the shit list. But Burak, 100% one of the GOATs.
Yeah, and he was also like, he wasn't a big name at that time. Not that he's a massive name now, but he went on to have like an amazing season with Lily, and yeah,
he did.
We'll always remember Burak.
Does Seba Joisi make the GOAT list?
No.
No.
No. Okay.
So very good player.
Your top three, as it stands, is Sho Sasaki, Sebastian Blanco, and Burak Yilmaz.
What a list.
I mean, I remember that game. I think Seba scored 100 against, I think it was Kansas City. I think he just absolutely had the game of his life, scored 2 bangers, got a couple of assists, and was just like, I remember that game very clearly. Sebastian Blanco banging out hundreds. And how many weeks did Papa save your game week, where it was like, you're missing out on the threshold, Seba comes in, gets that decisive last couple of minutes of the game and saved your bacon.
And the best thing was, in our WhatsApp chat, it would just be in all caps, Seba!
Papa! I love it. Okay.
Good times.
All right, let's have a look at some of your stats. 46 rewards you've won, which is not too bad. Again, I think you've done better than it feels like sometimes. Like, looking through your rewards, let's go. Where are we? Oh, I need to share that screen again. Consummate professional. I wonder if there's like a shortcut for that. Anyway, let's go. SFI stats. Okay. So there's some pretty good rewards in here if we're being honest. You know, Matt Polster was number 1, obviously. I remember that very clearly. Your first ever tier 3, which is a tier 5 these days. Darlington Nagby, not too far after that. You dabbled in limiteds for a little bit there. I remember, then you kind of had a few. Pepe was a pretty disappointing tier 2, just one of many disappointing tier 2s that you picked up. Luca Nets was, you finished 27th in All-Star Rare. 27th, Simon. And you got this guy who... Okay, so Simon's curse, ever since he's played Sorare, is every time he gets a good win, Sorare thinks, I know what we'll do. Instead of giving him a player that has any kind of utility, we'll give him someone who's got a hell of a lot of promise. You've had Luca Nets. You've had, what was your other tier 2 that you got? Thomas Jacob. 31st in Champion America Rare, 408 points. He has not played a game since you won him. Like, I'm sure he's got all the potential in the world, but no utility whatsoever. And then, of course, the most famous one, the worst week of your Sorare career, finishing 34th in All-Star Rare for a Tier 2 when you're on for potentially a top 5 finish. Francesco Conceição, I'm sure he's going to be great one day, but absolutely useless for now.
Yeah, and again, Ali's, little jar of optimism. Oh, mate, I've heard good things. Shut up, Alster.
Trying to find some silver linings. But look, you've had some other good wins. Mario Hermoso, the world's greatest ever tier 5. Unbelievable. Raheem Sterling was a good win. Eberechi Eze, obviously a good win as well. Koji Karo, you have to say, is a good win, but unfortunately, as per your kind of track record, that all fell apart. Any rewards in particular that kind of stood out to you as being particularly good or particularly disappointing?
I think Milton Casco, nothing flashy, but honestly, I've probably got a fair bit of utility from him.
Mm-hmm. Zampedri's been good for you?
Zampedri's been solid. God, there's a lot of shitters in here, though, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You've really been pretty unlucky with your awards, but 46 rewards. Joe Willis, your best card. No surprise there, Buttery Joe, of course.
He's been there through thick and thin, old Buttery.
I am surprised that Sho Sasaki hasn't been your number 1 card, but Buttery Joe, never lets you down.
That's it. We love him.
Okay, what else can we go through? I mean, in terms of the Wall of Shame, I mean, there's been so many just horrible things that have happened to you. The Bravo DNP, I mean, we've talked about that ad nauseum. You know, you were probably on for a top 20 finish there. Just an absolutely heartbreaking DNP. Anything else that kind of sticks out to you as being a particularly horrible moment for you?
I think there was a time when I had bought Druisi, I had bought a couple of big guys, and I was playing with them, Zelarayan, and it was like I was like, I am on here. Like, I've got an incredible lineup, and it was the first week after buying all those guys, and I was gonna buy a Hani Mukta. But Alistair said no, there is a guy who's great value at the moment. Don't get a Hani. Don't get a Hani. Get a Mauricio Pereira.
Oh, God.
Who not only proceeded to be absolutely dog shit, DNP'd that week. So killed my lineup in the first game of the game week.
Yeah.
So the lineup was dead with this new guy. I think Hani pumped out a 90 as he did at every game following that week.
Yep.
That's probably stands out.
That's bad. That's bad.
The fact that I was like, I'm gonna do some research on my own. I'm gonna buy a Hani Mukhtar, and I was like, Alistair, I'm gonna buy a Hani Mukhtar, and like you didn't tell me what to do, but you were like, oh, you could, but you could probably, and I was
Save
just
a
like,
bit of money. Yeah.
Yep, follow your advice, and that one, the fact that he DMP'd the lineup, and I just was like, that ruined my morning because I was so excited for this new Seba Juruisi card to roll out with my Zilla Rayan. Yeah, pretty grim.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, the Marcusson injury, that was pretty bad. Him doing his Achilles, just general goalkeeper shenanigans has been, you know, a real downfall of yours. I mean, the most recent kind of one for you that I think has just been an absolute, you know, I cannot believe it. And again, probably my fault, to be honest, is Rami's fucking Zaruki at Feyenoord. Got about 30 minutes into his debut before he was hooked and hasn't played a minute really since. Couldn't have seen that one coming, I'll be honest.
Look, I generally think this must be a case of not getting on with the manager. Like, it has to be some personal, because it just seems crazy that they signed him. They hooked him after 30 minutes because a defender got sent off. And then I don't know what's happened after that moment, but something has just gone awfully wrong. And he literally he comes on for a couple of minutes here and there, but
yeah, nightmare.
Yeah. And I think that also just hurts because it was like, yep, I'm going to focus on European rares. And then I lost 2 goalkeepers in the space of a week. I lost my midfielder that I was pairing with the good guys. And it's just like, well, fuck. You know.
Tough times. No! Okay. Well, we're almost at the end of the pod here, so it wouldn't be a So Red Down on the podcast without doing a buy low, sell high. So, what's your best sell hay? What's
my best sell hay is...
Yeah, go on.
Let me answer the question. My best sell hay is easily Lucas Zelarayan. Honestly, I could have sold him a lot higher.
Yep.
But for the utility I got out of him and the fact that I got like 0.445, and then probably, a month later, he was now worth 0.03.
Yep.
For me, that was a feeling of like, whew, I had no idea he was going to Saudi. Complete luck. But I did say to you, I'm going to sell Zella while he's on a heater. We know he can drop off the face of a cliff. He'd scored a couple of hundreds, and I'm glad for once I listened to our own advice. So he'll always be my best sell. Hey, if I had to do my best buy low, it's got to be Sho Sasaki, I think. Now, I picked him up for 0.2 at a time when cards were really expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, for how consistent he has been and what he has given me, 0.2 in the middle of the boom is an absolute steal.
And to be honest, you could probably almost say that about Lucas Zelarayan as well, because I remember that it was that about Christmas time, season was coming to an end, and this is, this experience kind of burnt us in future months because we thought we knew how the bloody market was going to work out. You also bought a Zelarayan for 0.3 or something, and eventually he got up to about an ETH, and some suckers out there were paying an ETH for a Lucas Zelarayan. I remember you buying Sho Sasaki and Lucas Zelarayan, and it was an absolute masterstroke because, obviously value today notwithstanding, you got so much utility out of them. Their value at one point was, way, 300-400% more than what you paid for them. So yeah, you absolutely nailed it with him.
Yeah. I mean, there's countless others that, even just talking about that time of my life, just very quickly, Eduardo, remember him?
Yeah, that was a good buy low, but not a good sell high.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I bought him when he just re-signed and he was the captain of Sagan Tosu and then got a move. But
yeah, unlucky. Okay,
yeah.
We'll wrap it up. But I guess the last thing is obviously Sorare has created some connections for you with different teams, different players. Are there any particular teams that you'll forever follow as a result of your experience so far?
I mean, no one in Australia really follows the MLS, and the fact that I will always love the Portland Timbers. I've got one of their jerseys. Big Austin FC fan. These are teams that I didn't even know existed until 3 years ago. So the fact that owning a Sebastian Blanco and a Seba Druisi has now made me lifelong fans of those clubs, I think speaks wonders to the collaboration that Sorare could potentially do with clubs in the future, because I think it opens so many doors for new fans and memberships and all the likes. I mean, Sanfrecce Hiroshima, they'll always be my J League team because of the GOAT, Sho Sasaki. I've watched way more games of theirs than I ever thought I ever would, so that's always fun. In terms of the European guys, KV Mechelen, back when I used to have my limited Mechelen stack.
Can't believe you did more with that.
Yeah, no, Rob Scoose, Nicholas Storm, the boys.
Legends.
And those, I feel like those are the main ones that stick out. I mean, I'll always have a soft spot for Lily.
What? You're saying it weird.
Saying what weird?
All of it.
Because of Burak back in the day. They'll always be my French team.
What a tragedy that you never got to experience Bentaleb running around as a super rare for Lille.
Yeah. Is that because they don't play him?
Are you is that one that you could potentially try and hold on to in case he does start playing again, or do you think you're just going to clear house?
Maybe, but is he going to start playing? Because he's been there for a while now.
He's been injured.
Of course he has, mate. He's
got injury.
Freaking tooth injury, bloody... Yeah.
Oh, I think that just sums up your Sorare career so far, is that the purchase of Nabil Bentaleb. It's like, yep, look, he's got a month and a half left to crush it in Ligue 2. Tooth injuries, resting, heading, missing the team bus and missing the game, finally transferring to Ligue 1, injured straight away. Like, I mean, God, he couldn't sum it up even better.
But we love it. We love it. We're not going anywhere. I mean... No. The rare boys are going somewhere. They're definitely going to a bot. But look, looking forward to the future, and it's an emotional time. It generally is going to be hard to say goodbye because these guys I've had, and you grow such an emotional attachment to them. The day that I click accept to my bot offer, it's going to be a sad time. But hey, maybe I can buy some limiters just for old time's sake of some of my favorite boys.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, look, it's a monumental moment. I'm looking forward to next week where we can, have a look at your brand new gallery and kind of come at it with a completely fresh perspective. And I think it has made me think about my own gallery a little bit more, and maybe I'll look at making some changes myself. I'm not going to sell my gallery, but I, may look at trying to streamline things to be a little bit more enjoyment focused. So, look, it's a big move. I'm proud of you for being brave and, making the call. I think it's probably for the best, and yeah, looking forward to cracking on next week.
Awesome. All right, thanks, mates. Catch you next week.
Cheers, mates. Bye-bye.